Got traffic there. Blaster, just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn and a left downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left base, you're following a Cessna down, low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final, you're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold, take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final, runway 9er clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see, what we got, a tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you clear to land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. You do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in tight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, here on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around. Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that after 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Three, two, one.
Hello.
Hello, welcome to this Thursday evening live stream where it is sunny, it is rainy, it is blustery, it's all sorts outside. We have, sitting in the green room, the ever irrepressible Ivy McIver from Cirrus, who's going to tell us all about how you make an aircraft land on its own. I just let go and see what happens. It seems to work for me. We've got Dave, who is following the Gloucester Council meeting live with a story hopefully coming up about Gloucester. I'll leave it to you to decide whether he's more John Curtis or Laura Koonsberg. We've got news of TLAC, who bring in a new aircraft in, Cub crafters who've allowed making their aeroplane for big people, and all sorts of other stuff. So let's get on and say a big thank you to SkyDemon. Thank you, SkyDemon, for supporting the live stream. And here is a brand new tip for you, which I think you'll enjoy.
Hi, I'm Hannah from SkyDemon, and this is this week's top tip. Occasionally in flight, you might be asked to report via a waypoint that you haven't heard of, or that has an unclear spelling, and it may be hard to find it by simply looking around the map. In this scenario, we've been asked to route via a waypoint that sounded like Cookle something zone. If I tap the find button at the top of the map here, or in the main menu on a phone, and choose waypoints ahead, SkyDemon will give me a convenient list of waypoints coming up ahead of me. If I look through the list, I can see this waypoint here, which looks like the one we need. I can then insert it in my route like this. For more information, go to our website, skydemon.aero.
Well, that looks brilliant, but that looks like my sort of nightmare, because what it actually needs to do is say, how do you pronounce this?
Awful.
Yeah, because it's like, it's all very well being able to go, okay, I can go to it, but it's like when they say report at, it's like, okay.
I think it's pronounced Auster, isn't it, Ed?
Yes, Auster.
Auster. I was flying through Italy once with a DA-40. I wasn't in a DA-42, but I had some French friends in DA-42, and they have all sorts of really long Italian sounding name here that no one can ever remember. Yep. And the French people either just said Roger to everything, or when they were asked for an estimate, their estimate was just a permanent single number. It's just like 42 or something. And they never changed, never engaged in the conversation. It seems to work, to be honest.
That's the answer to everything. Before we go any further, Chris Holliday says, congratulations to Annabelle for the issue of Big Red's permit. This is, if you haven't been following the story, Annabelle finally has a permit to fly for her Glass Star. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ed. A few tears of makeup have been shed.
Yes.
For those who don't know, just out of interest, how long ago was it you actually bought the aeroplane ready to fly?
About 2 years and 2 weeks.
Oh.
I bought an aeroplane that had a valid legal permit to fly.
There you go.
In the intervening time, you've done all sorts, haven't you? So.
Yes, I finished building it.
Finished building it. Took the engine out.
Yeah, took the cylinders out later.
Yeah.
Redid the rigging so that the ailerons are actually straight. Sorted out the elevator stop, the aileron stops. Yeah.
So it's momentous. We look forward to hearing about your first flight.
Congratulations.
Yes, I've already messaged Si to say, when can we go? Because, of course, I could legally now jump into it. I have my tail wheel differences. I've got a current SEP. Wouldn't be sensible. So
it'll be fine.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, exactly. Well, I mean, they're based at Farnborough. They've got good fire service.
Take some training.
Yes, definitely. It's another day and more gusty winds. When will they end? Shall we see what Simon thinks the next few days have in store for us?
Hi everyone, I hope you're having a good evening. Sorry I'm not with you live again. It's just the way meetings have fallen over the last few weeks. I promise I am still here and I hope to be with you live next week. However, before then, looks like we've not got a bad weekend of flying ahead of us. This is the forecast for tomorrow, for Friday. Warm front passing northeastwards, bringing lots of low cloud, lots of drizzle, lots of mist and murk to many central western parts of Scotland, northwest England, the northwest of Wales, much of Ireland as well. You see the red colours here out towards the west of Ireland, showing bases below 500 feet. Yellows are showing us cloud bases of 1,000 feet or less. So lots of mist and murk around in those areas that I've highlighted. Northeast England, the Midlands, southern parts of England looking better. Bases as the cloud breaks, 4,000 feet, tops at 8,000 feet. Always, though, more mist and murk across western and southwestern coastal hills. Something to watch as well is that as we get into the warm sector, which is the section here between the warm front and the cold front, as that moves northeast, winds are going to become increasingly gusty, particularly to the east of high ground. Lots of mountain wave activity, particularly eastern Scotland, northeast England, central and southern parts of England. You'll see that written into Form 215 and the gamut. So just be aware of that. You could easily find gusts of wind double the mean surface speed and even more than that. So do take care if you're thinking of flying tomorrow. Be aware of those winds and the risk of those gusts increasing into the afternoon as well. Now, Saturday looks to be generally a bright day for many of us. I think there will be an area of cloud, northern England, running through southern parts of Ireland, perhaps into southern and central Wales as well. Here, I think we're going to be looking at bases probably of around 2,000 feet, tops around about 10,000 feet. But don't be surprised if there isn't cloud shrouding hills and coasts with fog across western parts of Wales, parts of southwest England, and some mist and fog patches coming up through the channel as well. Again, watch carefully for the local forecasts on Saturday if you're thinking of anything cross channel, because I do think there'll be a fair amount of cloud around. Early cloud clearing away from many central and eastern parts of England, then typical bases probably around 2,000-3,000 feet, tops about 5,000 feet. Fresher, clearer, much of Scotland, much of Northern Ireland. Some drizzle though for western parts of Scotland. Quite breezy in Scotland still, but elsewhere the breeze much reduced from what it will be on Friday. On to Sunday, southwesterly flow still with us, but high pressure is building. Again, I think we could find sort of mist and murk affecting western coast of Wales, southwest England, parts of western and southern Ireland, some drizzle here at times, generally non-verifiable because of that. Maybe some cloud and drizzle as well affecting central and western parts of Scotland, so non-verifiable here. But other areas gradually recovering, the sun breaking through the cloud breaking, generally light winds. Could be a little bit hazy, bases of around 3,000 feet, tops at around 8,000 feet. So not looking bad on Sunday, and actually not Saturday, if you can get away from those western coastal hills. Oh, and I should say as well, could be some more mist and fog through the channel again on Sunday. So you just need to be very careful if you've got any cross-channel plans. Right, all my weather schools are full, but if you want to let you know, as soon as I announce the next date for your Aviation Weather School Part 1 online, just use the contact us form on the weatherschool.co.uk site here, and just let me know that you want me to let you know as soon as the date is announced. I'm hoping to do that in the next week or two. If you can't wait, go to weatherschool.co.uk, click on aviation and take my pilot's guide to Scooty's online course. It lasts 3 hours, and trust me, it will be 3 hours well spent, money well spent as well. It will get you flying more. You will be amazed at what Scooties reveal. Okay, I'll leave you with that for now. Have a safe flying weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Okay, wow. There's some hope.
There's always hope. Where there's hope, there's despair.
Ruined it.
Before we go to the news, Dave, any breaking news?
Well, the breaking news is that the council meeting is over, and they've voted to sell the airport, but they didn't name the preferred bidder that they've been talking about. So far at the moment, both Cheltenham Borough Council and Gloucester City Council, the two owners of the airport, they've now agreed to sell the airport to the preferred bidder. So it will be going ahead, but they haven't named who it is yet.
Good. They couldn't have made this any more complex, could they?
Well, I mean, to give them their due, they did. There's a lot of points being made. I've been watching for the last hour the live stream of the Gloucester City Council meeting. It was fascinating, but there were people saying, why are they selling the airport at all? Why not just turn it into a housing estate? Because Gloucester needs houses. And they reckon they could build 4,000 there, which will place the value of the airport at around £1 billion, given that it's a very expensive area, Gloucester. So you can understand that there are people out there who think it's an asset that the locals should hang on to. Anyway, they've got past that. They've voted to sell it. We just don't know who to at the moment.
Who to? Okay.
I guess we'll find out sooner rather than later. So
Yep.
We'll count the Gloucester story as done, shall we?
Yes.
Okay.
On that basis. Right.
Well done, Dave.
Well done, Dave. Let's just put up a gratuitous picture of Gloucester in case anyone doesn't know what it looks like. There you go.
Actually, if you scroll down here, there's a gratuitous picture of the city council meeting.
Oh,
you can see how exciting it was.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
There you go. You see people. Your £5 a month pays people like Dave to sit there for an hour of his life that he'll never get back, watching a live stream of a council meeting.
Mm.
That's what
Did
you pay
you pick up any production tips, Dave?
Yeah.
No. I simply do content, not production.
Okay. No top tip then.
No.
Good. Right. Let's get back to aircraft. Right.
Yeah.
The Light Aeroplane Company, based at Little Snoring in Norfolk, well known for they are the Shark importer. They are the C4. I don't know the current status about being the C42 importer. There was some doubt about the C42's future being spoken about at Aero, and I suspect that the Light Aeroplane Company, although I'm sure they'll phone me up and tell me I'm wrong if I am wrong, will probably not have a long-term future with the C42, should we say. So they're obviously looking to replace it, and they've decided they are going to become the UK agents for this airplane. It's the Lightwing AC4. It's kind of, if you kind of squint a little bit and you kind of put one of your eyes out of focus, it kind of looks like an elongated C42 anyway that's had a bit of a challenged cowling for some reason. But as Ed pointed out, that's not its best angle.
No, didn't we say it's like a pretty C42, which is a bit of an oxymoron?
You said it was like a pretty C42. I'm struggling to use that word.
Okay.
But there you go. I mean, it's kind of famous. I think it was probably the first. It was the poster child for EASA's LSA certification specification when they did it, and it was the first one done. And they also made experimental stuff, so they had these very strict. They're Swiss, so they obey the rules, obviously. So they had like very, very strict tape around the floor, the bits that could be incertified, bits that couldn't be incertified. But it would be fair to say it hasn't had a much of a first mover advantage and a spectacular rise to market. It hasn't sold hundreds or thousands of them, maybe hundreds, but not thousands certainly. But something that Paul Fraser-Spennison hopes to put right, and he says, it's a very economical airplane that'll suit the private owner and the trainer. It's powered by the 912 IS, and he talks about it running on 12 to 14 litres now, which I think is probably a reduced power setting, to be honest. But there you go.
I would say so. I'm just going to flash up a comment. I'm not going to offer any judgment. Otherwise, Nick Allen says this. Yeah. Form your own opinions.
I knew you were going to put that one up, Ed.
Yes.
If you don't know, the TLAC Bobcat is the TLAC take, I should say, TLAC's take on something that was called the SLA Executive, I believe, at one point.
Yes, but as we learned to Popham, with lots of improvements.
Lots of improvements and modifications, but there's still some recognisable genetics. Then you put them side by side, they might not be identical twins, but they're sure from the same mother and father, should we say?
Mm-hmm.
Right, there you go. That's my story. I think that's a good news story, having that in. So hopefully we'll see a few more of those.
Yep, unfortunately not this one, I'm worried. The next story is about the Air Accident Investigation Branch, the AAIB. It's produced its final report into the crash near Bagby 2 years ago when 21-year-old pilot Harvey Dunmore was killed. Harvey was flying a 1971 Piper Aztec and was returning to Bagby after a 4 days flying. He'd left Bagby in the morning to fly to Deauville in France, where he picked up 5 passengers and flew them to a place called Abbeyshrold in Ireland. After dropping off the passengers, he made a short hop to another Irish airfield to pick up an aircraft part, then flew back to Bagby, only to crash about a mile from the airfield. According to witnesses, this is from the AAIB report, witnesses saw and also CCTV picked up the Aztec on a descending approach, but then went into a very sharp nose-down attitude. A post-impact fire destroyed much of the aircraft, making the AAIB's job that much harder. But the electric trim was in a severe nose-down position, far past what you would normally put it in when the flaps are deployed. And the AAIB concluded that a runaway trim, this electric trim, was the most likely cause of the accident, i.e. the trim went far further than the pilot wanted or had expected. So as you'd expect of a fatal accident, the AAIB has made a very thorough investigation, and as a result, the CAA is working on 8 safety actions, mostly covering what the pilot should do in the case of a runaway trim, but also about the need for multi-engine pilots to take differences training when moving to another different aircraft. They are supposed to do that already. There are 2 other ongoing investigations. One is by the CAA into the maintenance of the aircraft. The other is by unnamed authorities looking into the financial, as is the AAIB's own words, looking into the financial arrangements in place for the provisions of pilots to operate the aircraft. What they're hinting at there, and I can't say much more than this, is was this some sort of paid-for air taxi arrangement? Slightly better, the fundraiser set up by Harvey's parents to establish a pilot training scholarship in his name has reached £20,000, just close enough to the target for the family to start taking applications for the PPL scholarship. So if someone could go up to the top of our script, there it is. That's the link to the scholarship and the funding campaign. So they're hoping to do some good from it. I should also add, it's a bit of an anecdote really, but the report also says that Harvey Dunmore, despite being only 21 and not having had his CPL yet, not having an IR, but he was partway through his CPL course. Despite all that, he was clearly a very competent pilot.
He certainly had good reports from the schools, and unfortunately, he didn't finish his CPL because I think the school he was at, which was unnamed in the report, went bust, and he was in the middle of looking for another one. And the other thing that was kind of slightly unusual about this accident, and don't worry, I'm not going to go into strange areas here, but it's a flyer news story that we ran at the time. It was unusual because 3 of the people involved in the accident were arrested simultaneously and then released and haven't been charged. But that's a kind of unusual step in an aviation investigation, and certainly caused a few people to raise some eyebrows, I think would be good to say. I think that's about as far as I'm going to go. Let's move on to aeroplanes for lardy people.
Well, you say that. This is all about the fact that Cub crafters have announced the fact that they're making publicly available their STC that increases the certified gross weight of a Super Cub, probably the world's most popular backcountry bush aeroplane, from £1,750 to £2,300. So that's a 30% boost in payload. Now, it's not new news. The STC has been around since 2007, and it was updated in 2012 because Cub crafters have a FAA certified aeroplane called the Top Cub. But it's the first time the upgrade's being offered to the wider Cub owning public. And basically, it's, Super Cubs people love to modify them, do all sorts to them. And as we know, as you modify things, the weight goes up. What you don't want to do is modify it so much that you've got no useful load. And clearly, a 30% boost in useful load and a £2,300 max gross weight is really useful on a Super Cub. So Cub Crafters President and CEO Patrick Horgan said, we're committed to giving classic aircraft like the Super Cub new life by applying engineering solutions that significantly enhance performance, safety and mission capability. So, and it's worth noting that this is a pretty big deal to apply to an aeroplane. There's a whole bunch of structural upgrades, new wings, landing gear, stronger engine man, and I think you need at least 180 horsepower. So plus there's some other aerodynamic tweaks, but it will give you a super modernised ultimate Super Cub. So obviously call Cub Crafters if you've got a regular Super Cub and you want to supersize it.
I'd like to go large for my Super Cub.
Large. That's not a thing anymore, is it? Going large,
isn't it?
No. It was. I think it was a size option of a famous fast food provider, and eventually it's like going large on your food was frowned upon.
Not going large is having a good night out in Manchester.
Hold on. Someone has stolen Dave.
Right, quick news story, just a short punchy one here. There is a Kitty Hawk which was bought recently and changed hands. They have now got fuel. It's a mobile Bowser. It's not a self-service. So if you want fuel when you get to Kitty Hawk, don't forget when you get PPR to say, we'd like some fuel, please. And someone will come along and sell you some fuel. But otherwise, that previously wasn't available. Now it is available. So it's got to be a good thing, hasn't it?
That is really good.
Yeah.
It is good. Talking of good things, Ed, you're up next again.
Yes, So this is the news that the wonderful Junkers A50 that is the retro 600 kg microlight has finally made it to the UK.
Look at that!
I know, yeah. And this is so they've had a European tour going on because an A50 Junior owned by a guy called Klaus Kords he's a retired Lufthansa captain and president of the German Aero Club. He's been touring around and he's just arrived at Old Warden, and we've got these brilliant photos. Thanks to a guy called Darren Eaton. And Darren took the photos today when Klaus arrived at Old Warden. So thanks, Darren, for those. Klaus has been to Poland, Finland, and then North Cape, Sweden, Norway, and the Shetland Islands before he decided to come to Old Warden. And that is a pretty roundabout way to get to Old Warden. And then from Old Warden, he's off to France, Spain, Portugal, Balearic Islands, Sardinia, Sicily, Venice, and Austria, before he ends up in Oberschlesien, having 7,550 miles.
I have to get two questions, Ed.
Sorry? Two questions?
For you. All of those countries, has he got a flag for each one of those countries stuck on his lap?
It does look like stuck on his lap, do you think? He's certainly got country stickers on his cowling, I think. So
look, he's holding a big red flag, a big Union Jack
and
flag.
He's holding a flag. So clearly, someone before he left, someone said, "Here, have flags for everywhere you're going, and you can wave them vigorously when you arrive." But I think that's very nice, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, if he's been to all those places already, that airplane looks remarkably clean. He must have stopped down the road at Cranfield. Although no one can actually fly into Cranfield really, because it's just.
Oh, maybe you can wash an aeroplane in the Shetland Islands. It's and it's German efficiency, isn't it? It's a Rotax powered ultralight. It's going to stay lovely and clean. So.
Yeah, I guess.
Blimey. The Junkers will be at the Italian fly party at maybe not this one, maybe not this particular Junkers, because I think he's at Shuttleworth all weekend.
That would be a long way to go very quickly.
Breaking news.
Oh no, Kath says it's terrible error.
I wasn't hearing it and thinking, yeah.
Oh no.
Well, he is German. It was a sign of distress. Help! This rear tags. Breaking news on the subject of Bagnoli. Well, not really of Bagnoli, but of the fly party and Italy. And the Junkers. The Junkers have recently announced, which I think we missed, but we wouldn't have probably run that story anyway, that they're opening a European or an Italian dealership that's going to be based on Venice Lido.
Oh, wow. What a place.
Which is about 20 minutes flying time from Bagnoli.
Oh.
So it's probably going to be there. So there you go. See? Things you didn't know. Every day's a school day.
Yeah. That's a fabulous airport to go to, isn't it? Venice Lido.
It's one of the best. It's one of the places that everyone should make. People need to go to Oshkosh, Cannes, Venice Lido, Salzburg,
Sedona,
Wadswick.
Never of those two been mentioned in the same sentence before.
Gloucester, while it's still open.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Annabelle.
Yeah, so if you were with us last week, you'll remember that Steve Nugent and Rhodey Sims came to the show. And they were telling us about their plans to fly the entire coastline of the UK in one day. And what you possibly couldn't see is when we were showing the forecast with Simon behind the scenes, there were looks of horror going between them because it was not the forecast that they were hoping for. Despite that, they were successful. Their flight was made as part of the Purley's Dawn to Dusk challenge. They flew it on Saturday to make the absolute most of daylight hours available, and they used the opportunity to raise funds for Fly to Help. In total, they flew around 2,150 nautical miles over 4 legs, and so far, when I looked earlier, they had raised nearly £2,700. If you would like to donate, I'm just going to pop the link into the chat.
That'll save me having to find it.
It's almost like I'm organised, almost.
There we go. Look, you can still help donate, and it's a fabulous fly to help. So,
yeah, absolutely. Annabelle, I suggest you take a deep breath of simple water because you're on for the foreseeable future here. You've got.
I am on site. Yes, so everyone else can just go for a break for a minute, and I'll just carry on. So, if you are a Flyer Club member, you could join us on a visit to the AIB, and you couldn't make up the date. This visit is on the 11th of September. It can be hard to get the visit because I booked it over a year ago. I'm still waiting for them to confirm final details, but the visits usually include a talk from an inspector and a guided tour of the hangar. I'm also looking at organising, so that's in the morning, I'm also looking at organising a pub lunch and tour of the Farnborough Air Sciences Trust Museum in the afternoon. There's a post on the members forum where I'm going to update the details when I have them. To be in with a chance of a place, please email me. Do not just reply on the forum. And I'm just going to put my email into the chat so I haven't got to read it out. If you're a Fly Club member, as well as coming on the AAIB visit, we have all the free landing fees. So this month you still have this weekend to use. We've got East Kirkby, Jersey, Ballado and Sackville Farm. And coming up in July, we have Yatesbury, Taton Hill, Fishburn and Tibbenham. So far this year, the value of all the free landings we have offered is just over £330. And if that wasn't already enough to get you excited, remember that Flyer Club members also have access to our exclusive webinars. On Tuesday, Steve Morley shared his vast amount of wisdom on revalidating and renewing ratings. If you missed it, it's available on Catch Up with all of our other webinars, including an update from Dave White on flying into Europe and Mark Greenfield's advice for forced landings. Everything is available via the members dashboard. And Lyndon, yes, I did. I was on that visit.
Which?
I'll stop taking things. Yes.
Farnborough to BHX.
I did. The Lockerbie, the one thing that stuck in my mind, the two things that stuck in my mind. One was the Lockerbie, Pan Am 103 was still there.
Wow.
And the other thing was, my main recollection of that visit is there's something, you can distance yourself from the wreckage, but when there's a pair of glasses or a single shoe next to it, that's the thing that really gets you.
And all of that great stuff on that slightly downbeat note, but all that great stuff means that if you're not a member of the Flyer Club, you should be. It will only cost you £5 a month. Go to flyer.co.uk/membership and sign up. You can pay for a year, save yourself a bit of money, £52 a year in advance. Otherwise, it's £5 a month. And as Annabelle has said, there's already 330 quid's worth of landing fees that have been given away. We're not even at the end of June yet. Plus, there's a whole load of other reasons that you should join as well. So just go and join. And if you really haven't got £5 a month, then don't forget to give us a favour, give us a like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. That would be good. Right, all of that's enough. I think it's time to bring in Ivy, or have I missed anything? Have I missed anything there?
No, we're all good. We're ready for Ivy.
That's right. Ivy, how you doing?
I'm ready.
Excellent. Right, we've created a little short video just to give people, it's very short, just to give people a bit of a taster before we come back to you and talk to you in some detail. So hopefully,
I'm in marketing. I love videos.
Excellent.
Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Emergency auto land in 7 minutes. Hello, Ian, and all of my flyer friends over in the UK. Today, I'm going to show you a safe return activation on an SR-22. Okay, so we are up flying around. All right, I'm hand flying. I'm gonna let go of the controls, and I'm gonna reach back, and I'm gonna hit the button. So now, it's enunciating that emergency autoland is activating. The autopilot's been engaged in level mode.
Remain calm.
And now the emergency autoland safe return system is activated. It's engaged the autopilot. It's informing air traffic control what's going on, declaring an emergency, and it's actually calculating a route to figure out where the nearest appropriate airport is. So we're just coming up over the threshold. You'll see that power start to come back. We're aligned with the center line. And we're just configuring for that flare. All right, so there's the landing. We'll start to roll out. Flaps are coming up. Brakes are being engaged. We've reacquired the center line. The boost pump shuts off. The switch is still on, but the boost pump is actually shut off. We've now come to a complete stop, and then mixture starts to come back. And you'll see that engine quit. All right, engine shutdown is complete, and you'll get instructions on how to actually exit the runway, exit the airplane.
That is. Hang on, there we go.
There you go. Someone make Ivy big. There you go, Ivy.
That is amazing. As someone said, it really is black magic. There we go.
I know. The world we're living in today. I mean, and that was a very short excerpt of a video that's about 14.5 minutes long that you can go and watch the full video, obviously, for the full effect. But we just kind of got just to get people positioned. So Ivy.
It was a perfect highlight reel.
It's a perfect what reel?
It was a perfect highlight reel.
Highlight reel. There you go. There you go. So I mean, I think one of the things that surprised me the most when I heard about this was the amount of time that it's been worked on. I think Garmin, who did a lot of the work for the Autoland, started on it in something like, was it 2014 or 2013 or something? Okay. So there you go. What can you say? Amy, come back.
So yes or no?
There we go. Hey. Oh,
there you go. There you go.
I'm not sure what's happening. I keep getting kicked out.
Not by us. Not by us. Yeah. Is there someone in your office who's got a kick out button?
Yeah, maybe. They're like, hey, I don't think you should be doing this. No, not at all. So apologies. I missed your question. How long has Garmin been working on it? I think
it's been something. It was something silly, like 2013 or 2014 or something. It's like when they voted.
We introduced safe return on the jet. I want to say it was like 2019, maybe.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. Do you think that there's an overzealous IT person going at Cirrus going, we're being hacked?
I think there's probably someone in corporate communications who's sitting there. Anyway, don't say anything about Ivy because she's not. Although she can't hear us at the moment. Oh, Ivy.
Yeah, I'm not exactly my internet connection looks good, so I'm not sure why. What's happening?
We wondered if it's your IT department. They're like, who are these flyer people? Quick, kick them out.
No, I don't think so. It actually worked flawlessly through the entire news segment. I am very pro SKU-T diagram, and also I was very proud of myself because I'm like, Sedona, yes, I've been there. Lido, yes, I've been there. Salzburg, yes, I've been there. Oshkosh, yes, I've been there. And then you named another airport, and I'm like, I don't know where that is.
It's Wadsworth. If you come over with an airplane, we'll show you.
And Pringles.
Okay, but back to the development process. So we started really working on it on the SR very shortly after we introduced it on the jet. And so a lot of the learnings that we gathered from implementing and integrating it on the jet really helped us in developing the system for the SR. But yes, it was a really lengthy process because it's not simple, right? If it was simple, everyone would do it. It was a very intricate integration between software and an engine that is not FADEC. So you've got an engine.
In the meantime, can I just pop up, Chris? Chris has got a fantastic idea. This is picking up on something we said last week, I think, when we were saying that Tim Dawson had a great voice. I love this idea. I
would love it if my Cirrus talked to me. Yeah, well, if I had a Cirrus, but if it talked to me in a Tim Dawson voice.
Leave that comment up there for a minute. I just need to quickly screen grab that for Tim. There you go. Okay, well, hopefully Ivy is kind of like, I don't know, going around and
there she is.
There she is.
I'm trying something slightly different. I'm on a different network. So yeah, we're gonna try that.
You used to work in IT, didn't you?
Yeah, back in the day. Back in the day, I did. I've lost all my IT skills. But it's a pretty intricate integration between an engine that's not FADEC. So you've got a mixture control and a prop control to tell the pilot is telling the engine how much fuel to put in it as opposed to computer. But you're using software and that mechanical kind of linkage, and then all of the mechanical components and all of those together. And when you think about a system like Emergency Autoland, it's reasonably straightforward to make it work in a straightforward circumstance, but it's also got to work in all the corner cases, right? So you've got to think of cases where you're below the terrain, or there's weather between you and the airport, or you've only got a certain amount of fuel and a certain amount of airports to pick from, and things like that. So it's got to work at high altitude, it's got to work at a lower altitude. There's just a multitude of situations where it has to work. And you've got that integration between software and mechanical, right? So with the pieces of the system, like if you look at the jet already had auto throttle, right? And the jet is FADEC, so there's no mixture control. So you've got a computer controlled engine working with the computer that is the flight deck, and those speak to each other pretty seamlessly. And then there's some mechanical components. And then of course the braking system. So when you look at the SR, there's a lot of different components on the system. So kind of, I guess, starting from the flight deck, the software is completely different. When safe returns engage, it takes over all of the systems. So it takes over the mixture control, the throttle, the fuel pump, the icing system, the navigation, so the autopilot, the communications, so the radio, the transponder, the flaps, and then of course the avionics. So all of the screens are now controlled by the safe return system. So it's not just like a software algorithm. It's also got to be smart enough to kind of make all the decisions that a pilot would make in terms of, do I go around, or do I go over? Do I go to the nearest airport that's a little bit shorter and maybe the wind is not so great, or do I fly a little bit further to a longer runway that's more aligned with the wind? So all of those decisions are sort of getting made really quickly with the software, and then telling all the mechanical parts what to do. I know that was a bit of a lengthy kind of explanation, but none of that stuff is magic. It took a tremendous amount of engineering work from both our team at Cirrus and the team at Garmin, with an awful lot of flight testing from our experimental flight test group, as well as Garmin's experimental flight test group. And then, of course, the certification team working with the FAA to actually get it certified.
So all of that stuff leads me to a couple of slightly random questions. But the first one you mentioned, the first one you mentioned about, it takes a decision over whether to go for a slightly shorter runway that's a bit closer. What are the kind of parameters it looks for in terms of runway length?
Sure. So it looks for basically a 4,500 foot long and 75 foot.
Oh no! It was. She was doing so well.
She was doing so well. Someone do a quick 4,500 foot conversion length.
That's about 1,400 meters.
Okay, we're just.
Yeah, I should have done the conversion. I should have done the conversion, but it's 4,500 foot long and 75 foot wide runway, and then that's at sea level. So as you go up, that runway length gets a little bit longer. So 200 feet longer every 1,000 feet of elevation gain that you have.
Okay. Second random question. All of the other aircraft that have had Autoland or whatever name before it have all kind of had FADEC engines. And as you said, you've effectively got a servo-controlled mixture and a servo-controlled throttle, fuel pump, and stuff like that. And you already had flaps controlled automatically, potentially before that. Does that mean that you can you now? Haven't you just created a FADEC Continental without knowing it?
Like not exactly. It's very interesting when you talk to people about FADEC engines, because I think a lot of people say, I really want a FADEC engine, but then when you ask what do they think a FADEC engine is, they kind of can't really explain, right? And I think to a lot of people, a FADEC engine is an engine that you can control by just one lever. From a pilot perspective, you can control by one lever, and you don't need to kind of mess with the fuel piece. And that's obviously largely true. The digital piece of FADEC is digitally controlled, right? That's not exactly what's happening. There's sort of a software algorithm that's controlling mechanical pieces that are controlling the engine. So while it's sort of, when the emergency Autoland is engaged and activated, it's behaving like a FADEC engine would, in terms of the computer is telling the mixture what to do. It's not exactly a FADEC.
Well, you could. I'm sure you a couple of lines in code from some of the coders over the weekend. Someone saw the tricky question coming up. Better pull that.
On the plus side, we do know that she will reappear.
We do. So, past performance is no guarantee of future income or whatever it is they say.
Do you think somebody spotted that she's got the secret plans for the next Cirrus on the wall behind her?
I think so.
Yeah, four-engine one.
Yeah,
it looks like a 4-engine Cirrus that's coming along. If you look at those plans on the wall.
All right, so I've now rebooted my browser, so we're going to try that.
Okay. So not really a FADEC.
So it's not really FADEC, but surely.
No. Well, the rebooting bit was a success.
Do any of the flyer team know how to play the piano and have a piano to hand?
No, but I'll give it a go.
Give me a minute. I'll go get a woodwind instrument.
Okay. Well, I don't know. What should we talk about here?
We could do Fantasy Hangar.
Yep.
Well,
is that going to work? Because we do need to.
Then she'll come back if we do start doing something that's going to take 10 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make Ivy visible again.
Make Ivy visible again. If only we could. Ivy is probably currently moving to another computer somewhere else. Ivy's a very resourceful.
Oh no, there she is.
She is a consummate professional, just like the rest of us.
But she's portrait now.
Ivy's gone iPhone or iPad or.
Yeah, I'm trying like all of my tricks. So now I'm just on my phone. So we'll see if that works any better.
I'm not sure what network your phone's on. Is it on like AT&T or something?
Well, hopefully this will work better. I'm on my phone as opposed to my computer, so we'll try that.
Yeah, I just wondered if your phone was on your office Wi-Fi, because it's a little bit.
It is not on the Wi-Fi, actually.
chuck it on the Wi-Fi. We'll talk amongst ourselves while you chuck it on the Wi-Fi.
All right.
I wonder what's going. Oh, I wonder what's going on at the Gloucester Council meeting.
They've
Well,
gone home.
the council meeting's over. They've had the vote. What they haven't said is who's the
There you
buyer.
go. Maybe.
All right.
Ivy's
I'll tell you what, Ivy. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm gonna suggest something.
Okay.
We're gonna pop in and do fancy.
All right, I'm
Hangar.
ready.
We're gonna do fancy Hangar. While we're doing fancy Hangar, I reckon you can use your
Okay.
experience and something to find a solution that's another solution. Yeah? No? Frozen. There you go. Right, I'll tell you what. Let's
go
to this.
Must be time for.
Let's do fancy Hangar, and then that'll give Ivy some time to sort things out.
Yeah. Must be time for.
So this week, because we heard that the youngest A50 was visiting Old Warden in the UK, we thought, hey, I wonder what other modern aircraft we could pick that you could take to Shuttleworth and blend right in and not get you moved off into some corner of modernity, which is a way away. So who's first?
Annabelle.
It's me.
Annabelle, what's it going to be?
So there are a lot of replicas around that would have fit the bill for this week's Fantasy Hangar, but I have picked the Criquet Stork. And this is a 3/4 scale replica of the Fieseler Stork.
Hang on a minute. Don't you mean Storch?
Only if you, is that the Oyster Storch?
No, that's definitely a storch. In fact, is that a Temu storch? It looks like it.
A Temu.
No, it's definitely a stork. So anyway, FAA certification for this one was granted in 2011. The original was famous, of course, for its exceptional short field performance and ability to handle rugged terrain, most notably plucking Mussolini from the top of a mountain. The Criquet was designed and produced by Criquet Aviation of Bogota, and I cannot imagine what they had in mind for it as a use. It features a Rotax or Lycoming engine, decent brakes, and a smaller insurance bill than the original, but it is a pretty faithful reproduction, built with similar materials to the original and including lovely details, such as leading edge slats and chain drive for the massive flaps. The baggage compartment holds around 10 kilograms, which is enough to hold an overnight bag, cruises at a respectable 70 knots and has a range of around 360 miles. Painted in mottled camo, and I reckon even the Shuttleworth staff wouldn't know if it was small or just far away.
I think though, the Shuttleworth staff, if they looked at, they'd be rubbing their eyes a lot going, does it look bent to you?
It looks bent. It looks like it's had a heavy landing and the engine's moved off its frame.
It looks like it's surprised at its own self.
Yeah. Cool. Let me just send Ivy a quick message. Ivy, we'll be with you soon.
We could have just said that rather than hold an autofocus piece of paper up.
I wasn't sure
It's
whether
much
Ivy
more
could hear
fun.
me or not.
It's much more fun.
Okay, we'll be with you soon, Ivy.
Yeah, it's me next, and I went for this. It's the 90% scale replica of the Ryan ST. It's the Timber Tiger Ryan, and it's powered by a Rotax 912 ULS, and I think it looks utterly convincing. Available as kit, it's been around for a few years now, and the first customer examples are beginning to appear, and I have to say I really, really like it. And I would love my own Ryan ST, but I wouldn't love the real-life maintenance issues that the Monasco engine brings with it, because they are difficult to look after at the best of times, even if you have all the spares going for you. So a modern Ryan ST with a Rotax really floats my boat, and I think if you put that on the line at Shuttleworth, no one will blink. So.
Well, I think you're kind of right, and I think certainly they would have blinked quite as much as they'd scrunch their eyes if they saw Annabelle's Storch. However, the downside is that both of those are just replicas of stuff that's gone before, really. So it's kind of like Do you think if I paint a Mona Lisa that's kind of okay, it will be all right in the Louvre and no one's going to notice, kind of thing?
Well, it would be okay if it was done by the person who designed my Ryan, but not the person who designed Annabelle Storch.
I think Ed's complaining so much because he might think he might lose this one.
Not for the Storch, you were. But anyway, I wanted to get away from the replica thing and go for something different, and so I ended up going for this.
Ooh, the Flybaby.
The Flybaby, designed by Pete Flowers, as it were.
Yes.
Yeah, back in... now, I know that he started designing it in the 50s, and we were talking about the 60s, but the first flight wasn't actually until 62. And it was an EAA competition to design an aircraft that could be built in a garage using basic hand tools with anyone who had sort of basic DIY skills. I'm not quite sure what DIY skills they had back in 1962, but I think they were probably superior to mine right now. But I reckon that's a pretty good looking aircraft, and it's an original. It's not a replica, and I think it would do pretty good at Shuttleworth sitting there on the ramp.
Yeah, that's a convincing looking vintage aeroplane that's new, isn't it?
I'm just surprised that Ian has actually chosen something sensible.
Mm.
Like win.
Well, there you go.
Well,
Hopefully, Dave hasn't chosen another replica of something or other. What have you got, Dave?
You know perfectly well what I've chosen, but I have to admit there are some good choices there. So I've chosen the Stomp SV4 RS. This is the Microlite version of the Stomp, and well, it's just lovely, isn't it? It's a Microlite, so it fits the 600 kilograms category. It's on its way to the UK. There is an agent working with the BMA at the moment. It's just lovely. It's just a very nice looking, well sorted aeroplane. It's got an aluminium tube fuselage, wood foam wing ribs. It's got a Rotax 912 in it, 80 horsepower. Well, it is what it is. It is a replica. I must admit, I hadn't thought of that Timber Tiger Ryan. That is really lovely. Yeah,
you know, it makes sense. And the Rotax powered Stomp is good, but obviously you can see the Rotax.
Yeah, you can. Which is, you know, at least, I mean, that's not as bad as those Rotax powered Corsairs and stuff like that, where you've got this like amazing looking aircraft, and then you've got toothpicks coming out of the prop hub.
Yeah, toothpick propellers.
Yeah. Doesn't look quite good.
Anyway, I'm going to suggest that Ivy's back, and Ivy looks very stable.
Yeah. Okay, so we bring Ivy back. And then once we've finished talking to Ivy, we'll go back to Fancy Hangar and see what people said in the comments. But remember, people, the Bowers Flybaby is the one to go for. Right, Ivy.
All right.
That went well.
It seems to be us chucking her out.
Maybe we don't make her big. If we keep her small.
Yeah.
Let's keep Ivy small. And
we're going to keep you small, Ivy, this time, because it might be making you big. That's got all the problems.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've got my phone on standby to try and see if the phone is better than the computer. So now I'm on the phone. I don't know. It's very interesting. It works just flawlessly when we're all talking. When you guys are all talking.
Yeah, I do wonder if it's not something to do with the layouts that they've got here. That when we make you into that big central person,
I don't know. Everyone knows what I look like. We don't need to make me big.
There you go. Right, where were we? That was it. I was going to suggest that what you could do in that case is you could have when you're flying along in your SR-22T and everything's going fine and you've got full throttle and all the rest of it, you could press a software button. It could auto lean to lean of peak. It wouldn't be full fade out, but it'd be a good little thing, wouldn't it?
It is pretty easy to lean the airplane as it is, right? We actually give you a cyan caret that tells you right where to put the mixture. But sure, I mean, we're always looking for ways to reduce the pilot workload. And there is something to be said for not having to use the mixture. So, hopefully that will be something that will come to fruition in the future. Is in the past we've gotten rid of the propeller lever, and maybe in the future we can get rid of the mixture knob.
Who knows? Okay, so enough of my wishes and desires. Once you press that button that's behind you, so fairly easily reachable from the back seats as well.
Yep.
Let's just pretend that you've got a 13-year-old who wants to go to the loo, and parents up front are saying, "No, Johnny, we're not stopping yet. You'll just have to hold it." And Johnny goes,
I'll show you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the safe return system can actually be deactivated at any time by pressing the autopilot disconnect button. And so when you first activate it, so there's 3 different ways it can be activated. One is with the button. The second is it's actually using the same technology that the hypoxia detection is using, which is keeping track of the pilot's interaction with the flight deck. So it knows when you change a frequency or look at a different page on the MFD or just split the screen on the PFD. And if you haven't interacted with the flight deck for a certain amount of time, and that amount of time varies by altitude, it's a shorter amount of time if you're up higher, it's a longer period of time if you're down lower. But if it basically, it will pop up an alert on the PFD that says, "Are you alert?" And if you fail to respond to that, it goes from an alert to a caution to a warning in fairly quick succession. But ultimately, if you don't respond to that query of if you're alert, it will automatically engage safe return. So if you're alone in the plane and you are incapacitated, safe return will engage itself and bring you back to the airport. The other way it can be engaged is it's actually by using the electronic stability and protection technology in the autopilot, and it detects erratic behavior. So if you're bumping up against the electronic stability protection barriers or kind of flight envelope, more than 30 seconds in any 2-minute period. So it doesn't have to be 30 sustained seconds, but it's basically detecting erratic behavior. It will also engage itself in level mode, and then it'll automatically engage the autopilot in level mode, and then will engage safe return if you're in level mode for a certain amount of time, and don't disengage it. Now, no matter how safe return is engaged, it can be deactivated at any time by pushing the autopilot disconnect button. With the activation, the first 10 seconds are actually this window where the autopilot engages in level mode, but the safe return system activation sequence hasn't started, right? So you have this like 10-second grace period where it says emergency autoland activating, and it's blinking at you on the PFD, and the autopilot is engaged in level mode. If you disconnect it in that 10 seconds, you just go back to hand flying. So it hasn't started to squawk an emergency code or communicate a mayday or take over the navigational controls or anything. In that first 10 seconds, if you disconnect it right away, everything goes back to normal and no one knows you activated it. So that's a great example of when, like, if the kid hits the button or someone is rooting around and hits the button with their elbow by mistake, the pilot will just disengage it and it goes back to a normal flight. But even after that 10-second like kind of preview window, anytime during the activation sequence, even as far as the plane's been configured for landing, the flaps are at 50%, the plane is flying the flare sequence, you can still disengage the autopilot and take over hand flying.
Right. Okay, and it's having kind of 2 conversations at once, isn't it? It's having a conversation with ATC once it engages, saying, "I'm declaring the emergency." And do you get a choice of voices, or do you just get the voice that you?
Yeah, the outbound voice is just the computer voice. But I think where you're getting at is there actually is 2 conversations that are happening. One, the conversation between the plane and ATC. Right. So that communication is a very computerized voice. It's saying, it declares the emergency, mayday, 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 pilot incapacitation. It shares your position. It explains that it's navigating to a runway at an airport. So it's like, I'm going to, runway 21 at Kilo Delta Romeo Oscar. So, and it estimates your time to the field. So it's communicating the intentions to CTAF, to ATC, on the emergency frequency, all of that. Inside the cabin, there's a very human voice. It's a very calming voice that's explaining to the occupants in the plane what's happening and what's about to happen. So it basically says safe return's been activated. The safe return emergency autoland system has control of the airplane. There's nothing that you need to do. Emergency services has been contacted. And then, it says remain calm. If you want to talk to ATC, it plays a little video about how to do that. And then the screens are actually communicating things like, you will be landing in Durango in 10 minutes, and in 2 minutes, the plane will be turning right, because the goal is to keep the occupants calm. And no one likes surprises when they're in the airplane. Like, it's stressful enough that the automatic or the safe return system's been activated. So, like, instead of the plane just turning right or turning left, it communicates to the passengers, hey, expect a right turn in 2 minutes, expect a descent in 5 minutes, so that when the planes start moving, it doesn't surprise the occupants. And it just keeps everyone aware of what's happening. It tells the occupants that the plane is configuring for landing. It tells the occupants that the plane is about to land. And then once you've landed and the brakes have been engaged and the plane comes to a complete stop, it plays a video that explains that the engine is going to be shut down. Once the airplane comes to a complete stop and the propeller has stopped, it's safe to exit the airplane, and it explains how to open the doors and undo the seatbelts.
So, at the moment, because this system, as we know, is fitted to the all SR aircraft that are built and delivered now.
Yeah.
But before that was fitted to a whole bunch of aircraft, like the Cirrus jet and various other aircraft as well. But we haven't yet, I don't think, had a real activation. So do you get up every morning going, as you're going for your 4:30 a.m. jog in the morning, going, is today going to be the day?
Not said with such enthusiasm, but so I'm gonna wax historical for a little bit. When I first started at Cirrus, I remember the co-founders talking about the inspiration for the parachute, right? And actually, there's a recent interview with Dale kind of talking about this that was put online too. They talk about how one of the co-founders was in a mid-air collision and managed to get the airplane down on the ground, and he and his instructor were fine, but the conversation didn't turn to, aviation's dangerous, we should get out of this business. The conversation turned to, the penalty for making bad decisions or bad luck or bad things happening in the airplane shouldn't be death. Like, there should be a way for people to, get out of a jam. And that's kind of where the idea of designing the airplane around the parachute was born. When you think about safe return, the thing that most people talk about is pilot incapacitation. And I think that was the primary design idea of developing an emergency autoland system, is if the pilot is incapacitated, someone else in the plane who's presumably not a pilot can land the plane with a touch of a button. But in reality, really think of a lot of circumstances where safe return is really helpful, even if the pilot is not incapacitated. So I can think of a couple scenarios, like a student on a student pilot solo, and the weather turns or they start to panic, right? They can hit the button and the plane will bring them back safely. Or, you're a VFR pilot and you launch into what you think should be good weather. The weather starts to deteriorate, and then you're kind of enveloped in deteriorating weather, or the winds have picked up beyond your comfortable limits or things like that. The safe return is actually a great technology to assist a pilot in need, who either maybe they made bad decisions that day, or maybe the weather wasn't in their favor. But the penalty for that shouldn't be, now I have to crash my airplane and who knows, right? Now we've got a system that says, hey, all right, it's giving permission to pilots to ask for help.
Are you ever surprised by? You must read comments online and hear people talk to you about it who have a slightly different view, and it's almost as if they're kind of like take the view, well, if you make a dumb decision, you know maybe the punishment should be death.
I don't agree with that.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting that. That's not my view, for what it's worth. But there are many haters of automation.
Sure. You know, there are. You know, I think anything new can be scary for people. And then, you know, there's an awful lot of pride associated with being a pilot, right? We all work very hard to become pilots and become an expert at our craft. Whether you're a newly minted private pilot or you're a very experienced airline pilot who, you know, like makes aviation your occupation and your career, we are all held to a very high standard, and that standard is perfection. There's not a lot of room for error in aviation, you know, penalty for failure in aviation is pretty high. And so I think there is a bit of a macho stigma of, you know, I've done all this work and I put all this effort into my craft. I'm an expert, and if I you know fall off my game or I take my eye off the ball, like I should get my due. And the reality is we're all human. And you know, if you look at self-driving cars, it's a very interesting debate. But if you kind of look at the self-driving cars or cars with automation that will parallel park for you, right? There's an awful lot of people who are not great at parallel parking. However, the technology that will parallel park you automatically generally does a pretty good job. So people who are really great at parallel parking don't really need this technology. But people who are not great at parallel parking, this actually helps them be great at parallel parking. Maybe a silly example, but I mean, like, there's an awful lot of kind of automation that I think has helped advance safety in aviation, and this is just another step in that direction.
Yeah, and I think the one day when it rolls around, when you learn that someone or multiple people were saved because they pushed the button, then that's going to be a great day, isn't it? So.
You know, it really is. And I think, you know, I see a lot of reactions. Certainly there's a, you know, a small amount of the population who are skeptical or who don't think it's appropriate, or, you know, it's like taking away our ability to fly. The reality is there's a much bigger segment that this is enabling to bring into aviation. So we are actually giving an awful lot of people the confidence to get in aviation. And I'll tell you a kind of a heartwarming story from my opinion. We had a customer who, you know, had an SR, he had an SF, he was flying around in the SF, and he had a, you know, a medical condition, and he kind of got out of flying. You know, like the medical condition was treated. He you know, returned to service. He was fine. But he just had that little bit of doubt in his mind, like, hey, you know what? Like, this medical condition happened once. I don't know if it's going to happen again. I feel fine. I feel healthy. But, you know, maybe I shouldn't be flying my family around in the plane, because what if this did happen again, right? So it just planted a little bit of a seed of doubt, and he kind of got out of aviation. Well, after we released Safe Return, he called me and said, I just saw the launch, and I'm actually thinking that maybe I could get back into aviation. So if this type of technology keeps people in aviation longer and brings more people into aviation, kind of takes the little bit of doubt and fear about, you know, what happens if something happens to me? How will my family be? Or my family doesn't feel confident in, you know, in small planes or whatever. If this just brings a handful more people into aviation, we win, because this industry that we all love gets bigger and stronger with more passionate people in it.
I think, I can't disagree with that, but I think that's probably a great time to end, because unfortunately, due to some minor technical difficulties, I think we're probably... I don't think it's you. I think it's not you, it's us. It's me. I think it's the software here, Ivy. I think we discovered a bug. So I'm going to say thank you very much. Apologies for the technical issues we had. I look forward to seeing you in Oshkosh in a few weeks' time.
Yeah.
And if you've got anything exciting to tell us there, I look forward to that as well, unless you want to tell us now, of course.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure to talk to all of you. And Ian and Ed, I very much look forward to seeing you at Oshkosh and sharing an ice cream.
I look forward to it. And if the sooner you get over here with an aeroplane, the sooner we can take you to those remaining airfields that you need to tick off of your bucket list.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Ivy.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
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 There we go.
Okay, great. Right, we run over a bit, so that's.
Yeah, and I need to get going. So
I've got some champagne that needs drinking.
Yeah. So very quickly, there was a lot of well, there was Ed's a winner, but there was Ian wins. That's nice. Ian wins by a country mile. Just Paul Fraser Benison was convinced Dave would roll out a replica Luscombe. Stomp wins. Sorry, Ian wins. Bless me. Sorry. Dave, well done, Dave and Dave. Actually, Dave wins. Dave's replica is the least offensive. Ian wins. Dave and Ed co-winners. 3 winners tonight. Sorry, Annabelle. So the Temu Storch. Oh, there we go. Nick Allen. I love a Storch. Annabelle wins. So.
Don't feel too sad, Annabelle. I get that kind of humiliation every week normally. Right.
And that's the Storch, by the way. Yeah.
Yes.
Dave, do you want to quickly rattle through the events that we got?
Yep. Friday and Saturday, tomorrow and Saturday, there's the Private Flyer Fest at Leeds East. On Saturday, there's the Sherlow flying at a place called Lower Grounds Farm in Shropshire. It's the home of Avia Aircraft UK.
Yep.
Over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, Lambholm flying on Orkney. That should be fun. Festival of Flight at Shuttleworth. There's also the Fly Party at Bagnoli in Italy. That's basically the Italian version of Shuttleworth. And there's a flying at a place called Heaven and Hall Country Fair in Suffolk. So it's basically a country fair, and you can land at the fair.
Right.
That sounds quite cool, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think so. I might go to that. You never know. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Ivy. Apologies. Thank you, everybody else. I know, Ed, you've got to run away. And thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Wednesday if you're a member. If you're not, why not? And otherwise, we'll see you next Thursday. And we'll soon be moving to our summer schedule, which we'll let you all know about next week when we know ourselves exactly what it is.
Take care, everybody.
Okay, thanks very much.
Bye.
Hello, this video is sponsored by us, the Flyer Club, and if you're not a member already, we'd love for you to join.
Members get access to all of our content, our free landing fees every month, exclusive webinars, and much, much more.
It costs just £5 per month to become a member, so head on over to flyer.co.uk/membership or click the link in the description below.
It's a proper good deal.
It's a bargain.